Hi, everyone. So glad that you guys can join us for another episode here on the Teens for Business podcast. I'm your host, Jack.
I'm Ivan.
I'm Jackie.
I'm Kylan.
Today, we'll be talking about ChatGPT, its impact on high school students, and its potential implications for the business world. So, let's start off with what are some of your experiences with ChatGPT?
Okay, so for me, I personally actually use it quite a lot. Especially taking AP World History right now, and we're reading this textbook by Strayer, and he has a lot of content in there that's like I don't want to say hard to understand, but it's just a lot of text. So what we like do is you can copy some of that into ChatGPT, and you can tell it to make an outline or create notes for you. And browsing through that is just so much easier. I know some people talk about like using it to write essays and stuff, but I think many schools are like catching on. I don't know, they have like the AI detectors and whatnot. But I think if you're just using it for like notes and stuff, I think it's like very useful and valuable.
Yeah, just to add on to what you said, like some teachers, some schools are like have like detected like ChatGPT use and like essay writing. I actually had a pretty interesting experience in the past week where my English teacher, I'm in AP Lang, so like we did those like Q1 synthesis essays, and my teacher put in one of the past essay prompts into ChatGPT and like it generated a response, and then the next day she told us to like evaluate whether this response or like actual like other responses were better. So I thought it was really interesting that even though like ChatGPT can like write essays, I guess, it kind of takes away the personal touch of the essay and like the legitimacy.
Jack, I'm curious. So, like you said, you guys graded that ChatGPT essay. How did that turn out? Was it good?
Compared to the other ones, we actually ranked it like the last because it was pretty bad.
Yeah. No, because for me personally, like I've kind of not really used ChatGPT a lot because um I can like for a lot of the things for like English essays, I kind of like writing. So I'm like, okay, fine. Like I don't really try like to reach out for ChatGPT because I'll just write it. But I am doing DECA and like one time we were looking at the outlines for something and we were like, oh, like I feel like a lot more of what I do is like out of curiosity of like, oh, I wonder like how this would work out or just like trying to see like out of curiosity, but not like truly using it for my assignments is kind of what I do.
Yeah, same. That's like similar to some of the experiences that I have used in using like ChatGPT. I'm not really a common user of ChatGPT. I'm just like sometimes I just want to test it out, experiment with it, see its reaches and extensions. Like I'm not really using it for any like school assignments. If I do want to ask ChatGPT to like make a concept a little bit more clear, I'll like that's probably my main use of it. But other than that, I haven't really used it now.
Yeah, same applies kind of to me. Like, I don't really use ChatGPT other than like for fun. Like, when I was doing practice for some of my extra like tests and something like for like past exams, I'm like, oh, it would be fun if I plugged it into ChatGPT. And the funny thing is, like, it gets none of them correct, but it still gives you like a chunk of text. So like, it's really good at gaslighting, but from like a realistic view, like it's not really that helpful other than like the only thing helpful I think for ChatGPT is like if you're like stuck on something, like if you're writing an essay and you're like, oh, I have one sentence and it doesn't work out well, you could maybe like ask ChatGPT for like some ideas to better phrase a sentence. I think that's like the better use of ChatGPT. But other than that, it's not really that like well off.
Yeah, so some so as I mentioned and some of my like mates mentioned, some of us have experience using like ChatGPT to like learn stuff, and maybe some of our teachers have used it to teach stuff. So like, what do you think is like ChatGPT is like super beneficial for like self-learning or for teachers to like teach?
I don't think so because uh I'm not like too sure how. I know they don't get like it's in ChatGPT doesn't get its information from Google. It just like browses through its own individual sources. So like I mean, based on like testing and like inputting a bunch of like or asking it to come up answer your questions, that's okay. You can probably learn from that. But in terms of teachers actually using that in terms of teaching their classes, I'm just not sure it has the sufficient amount of information to be able to like prepare you for whatever class you're learning, especially if it's like if AP classes have so much that you have to learn. I just don't think it's like it's at that level yet.
Yeah, I agree definitely. Like on the ChatGPT website, I'm pretty sure it states like it's limited knowledge beyond 2019. So like I think when they trained it, they only used like the internet. Since like the internet's massive, training it like is hard. So it's not that feasible to train it based off of like the entire internet for and keep it updated because that's gonna like lead to long downtimes and stuff like that. But like that aside, like it's not really good at anything else than writing good sentences. Like if you ask it something that's really easy, like what is 1 plus 1, they probably would reply 2. But it's really easy to like change that foundation. You can say like 1 plus 1 equals 3, and it'll say, okay, I'm wrong. 1 plus 1 equals 3. And like sometimes it will just give you blatantly wrong information. So I don't really think that would be really feasible to either learn or teach. I think it'll be better sticking to researching by yourself.
Yeah, I think like in terms of teaching, I think there's also a point of like using it entirely as your lesson plan versus like supplemental material. Like you get your like some bit of it from ChatGPT and then you're like, okay, I'm gonna like add my own stuff in. Like I think that's fine if you're using it as like a if you're using ChatGPT as like a very small basic structure. Also, I think it depends on like the level of education you're at. Like if you're a teacher teaching kindergarten, I think like ChatGPT should be like relatively okay to use as like a baseline for like some history material or something. But if you're teaching like a master's degree level class, I don't think you'd be able to get away with using ChatGPT just because like the level of sophistication and level of like in depth how you need to go is like kind of different at different levels of education.
Yeah, and I definitely agree with that. Even in our AP classes, I feel like ChatGPT has huge limitations. I actually inputted one uh physics AP physics 1 question into ChatGPT and it gave me a completely wrong answer. So yeah, so as you can see, like ChatGPT definitely has some like limitations, like in terms of teaching and learning because well yeah, sometimes it just gives like wrong answers. It has like a limited set of sources and it's like hard to keep track of. So another like interesting thing about ChatGPT is like a lot of schools have like detected ChatGPT use, and it's like similar to like plagiarism. It's like a little bit like academically dishonest. And I know like New York City school districts have started to block ChatGPT in schools, and we're probably going to see some of that trend to continue throughout throughout other school districts in well in the US. So what do you think about like the level of academic dishonesty that results from ChatGPT use?
I think I'll start first, but like from what I've seen online, like when ChatGPT just came out, like tons of students were using it. Like you know how like procrastination is like a big problem within students, right? So like ChatGPT only contributed to that problem because now like when it just came out, I don't think it's that big of a deal now because like everyone is caught up. But like when it just came out, people were like, "Oh, hey, I have this assignment due in 10 minutes. Let me plug it into ChatGPT, and it automatically gives you a really nicely written 5 paragraph essay that I can turn in." Right. So when it like that, I would consider that's probably academic dishonest, right? Because you're literally just plugging in a prompt and then making someone else write it for you, which is not you, but like that I agree is probably academic dishonest, but like sometimes ChatGPT could be helpful in like guiding you like towards expressing yourself more clearly, which is honestly like its best use, like from an objective standpoint. But from that standpoint, I don't think that would be considered academic dishonest. It's like asking someone else, like, "Hey, I want to write 2 sentences about this, but I can't really write it that nicely. Can you help me out? It's kind of like similar to that, but anything past that, I would consider that a little bit on the borderline.
Yeah, I think the thing is that like most schools use something called Turnitin, where like it's like their plagiarism checker thing, right? It's based off everything on the web and previous assignments that all students have turned in. And with ChatGPT, even if you submit something you directly copy pasted from ChatGPT, Turnitin wouldn't be able to recognize that because um what they give you isn't from Google or it isn't something that somebody has already turned in before. It's just self-generated because like the AI can self-generate things that are not taken from the web. And I just think that's why it was such a concern that this new tool was giving students a way around like doing their own work and they could bypass like plagiarism checkers. But I think that with this becoming so mainstream, many schools are definitely enforcing like either bans on ChatGPT or different like AI detectors that like that can detect like when a writing is done by a robot. So yeah, I definitely think that in the beginning many students were like the academic dishonesty is a real thing and it's getting addressed now, but yeah, I definitely saw it in the beginning.
I'm so my school has like a really strict blocking policy. Like, almost every site is like blocked. Like unless they approve it, it's blocked. So it's not like if it's bad they block it, it's like the other way around. So like obviously ChatGPT is blocked on school computers and like on school Wi-Fi. But I was curious. So like Kai, when you mentioned how like there's like robot detectors. So like what if you like inputted something, but then you like kind of changed it around? Like in that case, would they still be able to be like, hey, you kind of like took this off of like AI, but if you changed it slightly, then your teacher's like, oh, hey, this person just kind of did their own thing. Like my code isn't showing anything that shows academic dishonesty. So I don't know. I think it's like more about like how you use it again. So it's like if you completely just copy and paste, boom, 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 you're done. That's like obviously not good. But I think, like Ivan said, if you use it like as a baseline, as a tool to learn, but that's also very subjective and like, oh, I just copy and pasted my essay. It really helps me to learn, guys. Like obviously that's still academic dishonesty, but I think like if you're using it to help yourself learn, the same way like you would watch a YouTube video, right? Like if you watch a YouTube video on like AP World History, like are you cheating? No, you're just like learning. And I think like that's kind of similar to using this as long as you're not like completely copying pasting entire DBQs in.
Yeah, I DBQ writing and any like AP Lang, AP Lit writing is very stressful. I've heard of some of my friends like get some ideas from ChatGPT what to write about. Yeah, for sure. And like, yeah, I definitely agree with what's been said. There's definitely some limitations to like what can be considered academically dishonest and what can't. And definitely if you're using the tool to maybe like self learn some stuff, it's definitely like for your own benefit. It's not like academic dishonesty. It's like helping you like gain like a little bit like more knowledge. But if you're like blatantly using it to cheat on assignments, essays, even like take home tests, like I know like UNC like they have this thing called like honor code test, which means like students take home their test, do it there, and they like expect students to follow the honor code. But now, like since ChatGPT, UNC has actually revoked that policy, and some other schools have done like the same. So like it's it's interesting like how some people might use ChatGPT to like cheat on like home like tests you take at home. That I what is your guys like take on that?
I mean, I like from what I have tested, like I want to be clear that I haven't used it to cheat, but like I have like tried using it for like past exam, especially if like stuff related to sciences, like that, like even I know like some people who wrote these science tests, they're like, oh, this year we tested it on ChatGPT, make sure like ChatGPT doesn't have the right answer, but like from my experience, it's not that good at taking tests. Like if it's super like STEMmy sort of stuff, like bio, chem, physics, like it's not good at doing those kind of things. But I'm not too sure about anything else because I haven't seen it in my eyes. But like I can definitely see people using it to cheat, whatnot, but it's not really that useful in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, also like in my opinion, um, in my experience at least, like take-home tests are the teachers already being very lenient with the students. Um, like last year we had like a snow day on the last day of the semester, and so the teacher was like, "Oh, I can't give you your final, like your midterm. So you guys are just gonna take it home and like finish these 20 question thing. It's like short answers." And I think like at that point, a lot of it I think is also on the student. Like if you truly want to learn, then it's on you to like be academically honest and like have integrity. But like if you're like, oh, I really just truly don't care about this grade, I don't care about this class, like you're gonna find ways to like bypass academic codes anyways. So I think a lot of it is on the student and if they want to learn themselves or not.
Yeah, for sure, definitely. Like take like people sometimes when they have like take home tests, they're like, oh, maybe I can't be detected if I'm using my notes or anything. It really comes down to like the student to like know like, hey, this is a good learning opportunity. If I like this is testing myself to see what I've learned, what are my skills, and definitely it would be a detriment to the student if they use a cheating device such as ChatGPT or your notes. So now we're also going to transition into the ChatGPT potential impact on the business world. So some companies might use ChatGPT to like help with web developing and like providing code. I personally haven't seen that. Like, I personally haven't seen anyone like use that. But have you guys seen anything similar to that? Like,
I think I've like heard about it being able to like code and build like some sort of like chat bots in terms of helping like businesses run their customer service and support part. Um I've seen this on the news like they can for as for customer service, you know, like they can build these simple chat bots that respond to like you know, if you're on a website, you're buying something and you're trying to like inquire about an order or something, then I heard that ChatGPT, yeah, they know how to build these different they know how to code this out for you. So this can help like several businesses, but I'm not too sure in terms of other areas.
I felt like chatbots were already like a thing, right? Like I feel like
Yeah,
I've seen it outside of
yeah,
ChatGPT.
definitely chatbots were definitely a thing, but most of them are like based on algorithms. Like it's like previously it's like coded into their system like oh, what if the customer says this, what do I say, things like that. And it but like ChatGPT kind of uses like it's more dynamic, you know. It You don't need to like hard code it into the system. That's why it might be extremely helpful for businesses who like need it
Want
for
to
basic
try?
functions, like say like a customer is like, oh, I don't know how to do this, and then they can use the chatbot to help it. And then if it reaches a point where the business doesn't trust the chatbot a lot due to their abilities, it can direct it to an actual person. But it's definitely really helpful to limit costs, whatnot.
Yeah, it's also not just cost. Like as I said earlier, I accidentally interrupted you, but like saving time. I feel like it takes time for like a web developer to like code a chatbot. It even might take money because like companies might hire people to actually like do that. So like I can definitely see like ChatGPT like helping web developers like giving it code, and it's definitely makes like the process like a lot easier. So another potential thing about like impact on business from ChatGPT is like brainstorming ideas. So like when you have like that drive to like start a business, maybe sometimes you feel like you're like stuck. Maybe you don't. Maybe you run out of some ideas, and then you put some of like some of your thoughts into like ChatGPT, and maybe you can like brains brainstorm some stuff. Like, what have you guys like seen this like with businesses, or have businesses been like mostly creative about what they have been they like what they want to do, and then maybe like brainstorming about like other stuff like maybe their business model.
I mean, obviously I haven't like seen or I haven't really heard anything about that, but I think in my opinion, it's about like if you give like a baseline idea of like you want something, like you want an idea in some certain field, like Chat GPT might give you some ideas, but I think someone said this before, but like the final line is like you as a human are probably going to be more creative than like Chat GBT. And like you can have it like bounce around a couple of ideas, but at the end, like you still yourself have to like choose an idea and be like, oh wait, that's like a good idea that this computer gave me. Like I'm gonna fix that a little bit and change it to like actually fit my situation. So I think like it might be kind of useful in the future if you're thinking about like general ideas to brainstorm, but like if you're talking about particular step by step kind of things, I don't think like the current 2023 level of AI is like going to be enough to do like completely replace human brainstorming and things like that.
Yeah, I think like if you are like trying to use ChatGPT to help you brainstorm, you need to like you also need to be like involved like in asking like you have to ask the chat or the robot ChatGPT, you have to ask it open-ended questions for it to be able to come up with these ideas. So you're kind of like it's almost as if you're using it as another person, except you're asking it questions and it can possibly give you some sort of creative response. But a lot of it is still kind of you still have to you're still thinking, you're still brainstorming yourself, and um the AI is just kind of helping you. So I do think in that case, it can be helpful.
I feel like, yeah, I definitely agree with what both of you said. I feel like, I mean, like, I feel like the main brainstorming has to be like done by the human, maybe like execution of ideas. Maybe you can ask ChatGPT for some like tips to make the process easier. But I definitely think that the human like brain is like the center of it. Like humans have more creativity. They can use their right brain to to like they have like an imagination that they can like use, and that's not. And ChatGPT doesn't have that right brain. It's solely it's a little bit like it can have a little bit of right brain, but like it's definitely more like left brain and like as like yeah. So basically, okay. So and then another use of ChatGPT that I've basically observed is that it can like help people like like write instructions, write manuals, and like other stuff like for like a toolkit or for like a product. Have you guys seen like applications in those?
Mm, not really. I think that's mainly due to like ChatGPT not being factually accurate most of the time. I think that's why you don't really see these kind of applications when it's purely based on like how to do stuff.
Yeah, I feel like definitely the what you said before, like Chat GPT is like it's like it feels like what we've talked about throughout this episode. It feels like it's like super like limited. Like it like gets this it gets its information from like a specific like amount of sources, and as we've seen like how we discuss like its applications in education, in that like it's it doesn't like know a lot, and it feels like when you ask ChatGPT to like write these like big products or big assignments or like help you with something, it just feels like super like limited. It feels like for now at least ChatGPT is just like a nice resource to maybe like go to when you're like out of ideas or something, or if you're trying to say something but it doesn't really come out in the nicest way or like in the like the best way possible. So like I think today like overall as we have like our main discussion, our main takeaway is that ChatGPT has is super limited and like it's not as reliable as what most people like may imagine it to be. And thus, like what are some of your takeaways from today's episode?
Well, I've definitely learned ChatGPT is better at some things than at others. Um, but at its current state, it probably is feasible for like customer service, like sort of like baseline, not too complex tasks. But for anything other than that, it's pretty unreliable. But it's definitely in the future, definitely it's going to remain, it's going to become some sort of like important thing that everybody must have, I think that will make a really big difference in the future, definitely.
Yeah, I think like it's one of my takeaways with using AI and like ChatGPT, it's more so like using it as like a supplemental thing. Like you use it as like, oh, like having quick basic baselines of knowledge versus like, oh, this is everything I need to know about one subject. Or like because I know one of my friends uses ChatGPT for his debate cases, but it's like very basic, like something fluff in the middle kind of thing. So like I think it's okay if you use it like to help you understand something, but like for it to be your entire knowledge or like your entire collection of knowledge, I don't think that's going to work out as it's currently being developed. But like in the future, maybe like a couple of years from now, I think it definitely does have the potential to be something that can like be all encompassing.
Yeah, for sure. Kyvan, do you have any takeaways that you want to discuss?
Yeah. So I just think that, like as a person who like uses Chat GPT quite a bit, I think it's definitely a good tool. It's definitely helping me in school, as in like whenever I need to prepare for a test and look through notes, and I can just ask it questions about subjects, and it generally, I'm just using it generally, it has useful functions. But if you're relying too much on it to the point where it's the brains and you're just taking that information and just copy pasting it somewhere, then it's not doing what it's supposed to. It's not really helping you. So I just think that it is useful, but you have to know what use cases to use it for. So
Yeah, for sure. I know that most of us have like mentioned like the problems and like today's like the unreliability of ChatGPT in today's world, but I'm sure we are all excited for its future and the future of AI in general. So thank you all for tuning in today as we talk about ChatGPT. We hope that your year has started. We hope that your year has continued well into 2023. We'll see you all next week as we continue our journey at Teens for Business.